that wasn't quite the start Ohio State was looking to get off to, but 52-6 is 52-6. Tim May, the 41-year vet, Andy Backstrom, Spencer Holbrook. We'll talk about it. Tim, first thoughts, Ohio State 52, Akron 6.
Yeah, by the way, it was not by far the start they wanted, but the ending was pretty good.
Yeah.
Especially when Gabe Powers has that punctuation mark with that
Pick six.
tip pass, pick six. That was pretty sweet, and you feel good for a guy from Marysville, right up the road here, who's really hammering in there to try to be a regular player on this group. But, it's in your mind, you have Ohio State playing Akron. Akron is not picked, I think, finished in the lower third of the
11th.
11th in the MAC. What they were coming off of from last year or whatever. But that's not the same team that kind of showed up today. And not that I'm over-crediting them and under-evaluating Ohio State, but once Ohio State and Will Howard and Jeremiah Smith got their act going, and that was the act today that mattered.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely Ohio State was a superior team. But I just didn't think it was going to take that long to crank up that big old diesel.
Yeah, look, Ryan Day said that the offensive line, especially that interior group, was a little uptight at the beginning. We saw Austin Saraville get his first career start, filling in for Donovan Jackson. We don't think that's anything long term. We saw Donovan Jackson actually warming up. Same thing with Cody Simon, who also missed the game today. So both of those don't seem to be anything too serious. But again, Austin Saraville gets his first career start at left guard, and then Tegra Shabula made his first career start at right guard. They also rolled in Carson Hinsman a little bit in the beginning of the game at that right guard spot. So again, there's a lot of newness in that interior of that offensive line. Seth McLaughlin making his first career start at Ohio State, even though he had made 25 of those starts at Alabama. But again, newness, and there was uptightness, I think, that Ryan Day kind of shouted out a little bit at the beginning of his press conference, and eventually they started to play looser, and I think that's when the offense and the run game especially started to pop.
Yeah, Ryan Day said that once they started having fun, they started playing well. And I think I agree with that. I can probably, when I go back tomorrow and watch the film, and when I'm like Ryan Day and I sit down, I watch the film before I give you guys any good answers, and I make sure to go back over it, put it on the Lettermen Lounge message board, all those thoughts. Go there right now. Get that at lettermenrow.com. I mean, I'll probably see that point where they started having fun. It's probably the long pass to Jeremiah that set up a really easy touchdown run. But, we can't go any further without talking about Jeremiah Smith, because for the offensive line woes, we'll get to those, and we'll certainly talk about them on the Monday after when we get in here on Monday after we watch it again. Jeremiah, what a debut. I mean, 6 catches, 92 yards. His first target, a complete just drop right in the hands. Probably could have scored a touchdown on that.
Probably would have scored.
Just a drop. He also had a false start. Then a couple drives later, he had he had an illegal motion.
Yeah.
Then he also had he covered up the outside receiver, got an illegal formation on him. It was not always pretty. But the fun part was that they said they didn't say a word to him. Ryan Day said they didn't say anything to him. Will Howard said not a word was said. They know how good he is. They don't let freshmen play through those mistakes. They know this freshman's different. He turns in 6 catches, 92 yards. And 2 times entering the end zone. It was a pretty special debut.
Yeah, and just like the lead singer or whatever in a group, he may miss a few notes in those first couple of songs, but you're not going to he's still going to be your lead singer. There was no doubt, just on base everything you heard and saw coming into this game, that they were going to let Jeremiah Smith keep being that guy.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about, the guy out front, the out front guy, and the front man. And I thought he did a great job. He accentuated what I've been saying about him all along. One of the things that sticks out to me about him, and like I said, Chris Carter even tweeted, I dropped my first pass in Ohio Stadium too. The bottom line is, he reminds you so much of Chris Carter in the sense of, like I've said before, the way he puts himself between the defender and the thrown football is uncanny. And I don't think you could even teach that. Maybe you can work on it. But it showed up in a couple of his big catches, and you heard me ask him what his favorite catch was. He says it was that deep ball down here to the 2-yard line that set up one of those touchdowns in the second half. Because I may have mentioned this before, but they ran 11 plays in the third quarter, the offense did, for 135 yards.
Yeah.
That means they really got it going. And
did.
And that included 2 touchdowns and, of course, a defensive touchdown. But the bottom line is Jeremiah Smith is the real deal. I think everybody knows that now. He's going to face stiffer defensive competition than he faced today, however.
Good start, though.
Yeah.
And then Will Howard, I thought he looked good. At one point he was 9 of 19. He finishes 18 of 29. So the final, 2 quarters, he was 9 of 11. Touchdown pass. He looked a lot more comfortable. Obviously had the bad backward pass thing that was weird, but I think that was more nerves than anything. How do you assess it, Andy? You just saw him play his first game at Ohio State.
Yeah, I think some of those incompletions are a little bit misleading. There were a few drops, not just Jeremiah. Cornell Tate also had a drop
right
early. Again, but finished strong with the touchdown that Tim asked about post-game, 34-yard catch and run for a touchdown. But also, I think Will Howard, there was the first scoring drive for Ohio State was everything you'd want to see from Will Howard. Mm-hmm. He had an 8-yard keeper. It shows kind of the mobility that he has to run the football. A quarterback sneak on a 3rd and 1. The physicality of being 6'4". He had a throw on the run to convert, and get a first down there for Ohio State. And then he has a touchdown throw to Jeremiah Smith right toward the pylon. Great throw, great catch. That's everything as advertised was Will Howard. The speed, the size, and the throwing ability. And I think that, was he perfect today? No, he wasn't. But I think he was pretty good today, and he showed you everything that he brings to the table.
And at one point, he was completing 30% of his passes. He ends up 61%. 18 of 29, like I said. Only 228 yards, but I think that's the output that you're probably going to get from him a lot of times. Like, between that 200 and 300 mark, he's not C.J. Stroud. He's not Dwayne Haskins, but he's Will Howard. And I think you saw that, like you said, Andy, like the full Will Howard experience I think you got today.
I don't know if the full, because we didn't see him get outside or run and gallop, because that really is what sets him apart. And because in your first start in Ohio Stadium, even though you've started all those games at Kansas State, it's on your mind to make a good first impression, whether you admit it or not and stuff. When he settles down and really plays his game, there were several opportunities where he could have taken off with green artificial turf in front of him and had some big runs. I think y'all agree with that.
Yeah.
And that's when he's really on his game. But I thought, like you're talking about, I thought the more the game went on, the more you saw him playing like Will Howard, from Kansas State.
Yeah, I agree. Sorry.
I know it's hard to take.
That's okay.
All kinds of conversations going on around us.
That's all right. That's all right. People got jobs to do. On to the defense. Lathan Ransom, scoop and score after Caden Curry hits a guy. You've got pick 6 from Gabe Powers on the tip pass. You've got just a good defensive performance, Andy. Like 5 sacks, 10 tackles for loss, like havoc. And I think that's the big word is they want to create havoc this year. They're creating havoc in game 1. 3 turnovers, 10 tackles for loss, 5 sacks. What a start for this defense. I don't care if it's Akron. The ball gets rolling on those kind of things.
Yeah, they had 11 takeaways all of last year. They had 3 takeaways today. They had 4 defensive touchdowns last year, which is a good amount. They had 2 defensive touchdowns today, which is awesome for Jim Knowles. Yeah. I'm sure they're celebrating that. And look, as you mentioned, Edric Houston's the one that tipped that pass.
Oh, yeah.
It leads up to the Gabe Powers pick 6. And by the way, Edric Houston also got his hands on another pass right before that as well. And then, look, yes, it's Lathan Ransom that has a scoop and score touchdown, but who was it that created that? It was first Hero Kanu slowing down the quarterback, Taj Bullock, and then it was Caden Curry coming in from behind and just whacking not only the ball out, but also the quarterback there. And, that's second-team defensive lineman that's setting up that play for Lathan Ransom, which shows the depth that we've been talking about for, 8 months on this defense.
I don't mean to interrupt you, but Kenyatta Jackson also had a play where he got to the quarterback and tackled him, but didn't get him all the way to the ground, starts celebrating a sack, and then doesn't get credited with the sack because he was celebrating as his teammates took the quarterback down. But, in my book, that's a Kenyatta Jackson win. But, this second-team defensive line showed us why Ohio State considers them co-starters almost with Jack and JT. Jack and JT looks fantastic. JT, 1.5 sacks. Jack Sawyer might get charged with a felony for what he did to Ben Finley, the poor starting quarterback at Akron, because he hit him, I think, 5 times really hard. And I told Jack, I said, you should have had 3 sacks.
Yeah.
And he's like, I know I couldn't, and I can't repeat what he said, but basically he said I couldn't get one.
Yeah.
But I think
my favorite defensive play, clearly the Lathan Ransom scoop and score was huge, but
it was fun.
Like we talked about earlier, the Denzel Burke, just saying, no, that's my football. You know? And I asked him, facetiously, would you have gotten that call in Michigan Stadium? Because we all remember maybe the most important play in that game that just kind of gave Michigan, what it needed was when it was ruled that, what was the receiver's name?
Roman Wilson.
Roman Wilson. I swear to this day, that was an interception by Denzel Burke, but it wasn't ruled that way, and it is what it is. But like I asked
similar
him,
play.
You could tell as this game went on, there were upperclassmen who have played a lot together, playing out there together, and then you throw in Caleb Downs, who are basically all these guys are really helping the debut of 2 new starting linebackers in Sonny Styles and C.J. Hicks. C.J. Hicks, I watched him a lot. I thought he played.
Had a good sack.
Very well. He had that first really good sack right up the middle. Guy tried to cut block him. He's ran right around him and gets the sack. I mean, there are a lot of plaudits here. It's just, really, when you cover a team like we do, and you've covered them for 4.5 weeks of preseason camp and
or 4.5
spring
decades.
and off season and stuff, you just expected them to come out, everybody to come out with just a little more speed, a little more, as the French would say, je ne sais quoi. But they finally did get it going, is the way I would sum this up, and they looked dominant, especially defensively. Offensive line, there is still work to do there.
Well, Austin Saraville probably not going to be in the lineup much longer. I think Donovan Jackson
But
will be
you
back
never
soon.
know if you're going to be in the lineup.
Yeah, it's true. So, if they get Donovan Jackson back, Tegra Shaboli gets a little more comfortable. Seth McLaughlin kind of shakes off those first start jitters. Didn't have any snapping issues. That's obviously something that Ohio State fans were concerned about. We knew that Ohio State wasn't concerned about it because they'd seen it all offseason. No issues
By the way,
there.
go back and watch the last play, Alabama against Michigan. That was not a bad snap. It was a snap down here, but that was not on Seth McLaughlin.
But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Because
I don't know. A lot of people were expecting bad snaps because of that.
Yeah, and so we're here and they're out there.
I just wanted to get that out there.
Yeah. I thought that it was a clean game from Seth McLaughlin. Obviously, there were, again, the interior was not good today, but I think that there's a lot that they can build off of. And then the defensive interior, quite the opposite. I don't know if there's much more you can build off of. They were really, really good.
We haven't even mentioned Tyleik Williams.
Well, I was going to give us a chance, one guy to mention on the defense, because there's so many guys. Andy.
Already did mine.
Yeah, so you got Tyleik Williams. Andy, who you got?
Arvell Reese.
Oh, geez, okay.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's
well,
all right.
I mean, I felt like there was one drive.
Still say Caleb Downs.
That's true. He had a half sack.
Yeah.
There was one drive in particular I felt like Arvell Reese really just showed out, and he kind of flies all around the field. This was a great opportunity for him to play. He was at that will spot in there with Sonny Styles, who played Mike today because, Cody Simon wasn't out here today. And so Sonny Styles was the one that had the helmet comms and was making all those calls. And I think that speaks to the growth of Sonny Styles and the kind of adaptation that he's had, not only going from safety at linebacker, but also practicing at will and then also
Not only
Mike.
making his first start at linebacker, but being trusted with distributing the play.
But back to Arvell Reese, he was in there along with Sonny Styles at times, and he just flies around.
Yeah.
And I think when you hear about how well he's played in the offseason, especially in training camp, he was the defensive player of the game in one of the scrimmages they had. You can see why in a game like this, where he finally gets meaningful snaps on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, I will go with Caleb Downs. I think he's more felt than he is seen at times. He did have the half sack, and he was really celebratory with that with JT Tuimoloau. They each get credit with a half sack. And
I'm with you though.
You
what you're saying.
definitely saw him in that, but you can feel him out there when teams are hesitant to throw over the top because they know that he's a field general. When teams know that he's coming down, into the box and crashing to help and run support, you just feel him out there, and he doesn't have to make the play for that to happen. I knew coming into this year he wasn't going to have 107 tackles like he did at Alabama. This defensive front that Ohio State has is better than the one that Alabama had. Caleb doesn't have to do that stuff, but when you feel him out there, when you feel number 2 out there, he's there, and I think that makes a huge difference for this defense.
Yeah, I'm going to write a little piece about Lathan Ransom, the way he played today, but I really think, I don't know if y'all agree, because we haven't watched the video yet, right?
Yeah. I did get Ryan.
We haven't
with that
watched
a
the
little bit.
film yet, right?
I did get Ryan Day with that a little bit today.
Yeah, but my point, exactly. He gets to watch video now on the sideline.
On the tablet.
Exactly. But I just think, boy, I've been impressed by the way these two guys complement each other. And I'm talking about Lathan Ransom and Caleb Downs, because forget about whether you think they're the two best safeties in the country. The way they play off of each other is pretty obvious.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some good coaching going on there, I think, but also there's just some good playing, some good instinctual playing going on there by both of these guys. And it's learned instinctual playing. In fact, that's even a correct way of explaining it. And so I was quite impressed with Lathan Ransom today because he delivered a couple of 3 plays, which I thought really kind of put the nail in it.
I get the last word here because I'm going to get us out of here. Brandon Ennis, it's a win, not an if. He's going to return a punt for a touchdown. He looks just different than most people we've seen back there in the past. Even Emeka Ibuka. I think Brandon Ennis is just different than everybody else we've seen back there. Guys, Jalen
reminds me of Jalen Marshall.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He does.
He was going to catch the ball and was always going to run with it.
Yep.
You almost had to force him to fair catch. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
We're going to be back in here on Monday because obviously we've got a lot to talk about. This guy has a lot to talk about. You know that. He's got a lot to talk about, and I have a lot to talk about. So we're going to meet back up here on Monday. Ready, break. We'll meet back up here on Monday and talk about it the Monday after Ohio State 52, Akron 6. The Akron Zips The Akron 6. Okay, that'll work. But again, we're going to get out of here. We're going to go back up all the way up there to the press box, get some writing done for you guys over at lettermenrow.com, paying members. If you're not a member yet, go to lettermenrow.com. There's no better time to join them right now. I promise you will not regret it. Tim May's content, it's there. Andy Backstrom's content, it's there. And mine, it's there. Matt Parker, Alex Lightman, Mick Walker on the recruiting side. Ohio State could be potentially picking up a commitment on Saturday night. Kind of crazy, but West Coast kid. Stay tuned. We'll see what happens.
So he's on Pacific time.
For now, I'm just Spencer. He's just Tim. He's just Andy. And we're just Lettermen Row. And we're going to cover the Buckeyes like we do 365 days a year. We'll see you guys over at lettermenrow.com. We'll see you back here on Monday for the Monday after Ohio State 52, Akron 6.